Hey guys, it's John here from Sonic Drive Studio. Thanks for tuning in. Today I'm starting a brand new series for this channel, John's Tone Chronicles. The concept behind this series is going to be very simple. The basic idea is that I start off with a couple of riffs that I write on one of my guitars, and I'm going to try to use a wide variety of guitars throughout the series to keep it interesting. And those riffs will be amped through either one of my tube amplifier heads or one of my modeling platforms, also using an Ownhammer impulse response of choice. So the goal is for me to find a tone that simply works well for the guitar and the riffs. And then in the video, I demonstrate the riffs with the final tones, and then I simply go over the gear that was used and the settings, etc. I made some riffs with my ESP LTD EC1000T full thickness Eclipse. Now let's go ahead and take a listen to the final results. Here we go. Alright, I really hope you enjoyed that. Now let's go over the gear that I used, the settings and the signal chain. So the guitar that I use is my white ESP LTD EC1000T. It's an Eclipse with 22 frets and a full thickness body. It obviously has that classic Les Paul custom feel and look, and I absolutely love it. Initially this guitar came with two black EMGs, an EMG 81 and EMG 60 to be exact, but I quickly swapped those out for these golden EMG 57 and 66 pickups. They obviously match this guitar well in terms of looks because of the golden hardware, but I also think they make this guitar look a bit more classy and classic. The full thickness body really does it for me when it comes to feel and sound. This thing has a lot of sustain and a lot of volume, so it sounds really great because of that. This thing has a very resonant sound even when unplugged, and that is a quality that I really like in guitars. And the pickups also really sound great in this thing. So yeah, a killer guitar that I really love. Now for the amp tones, I ended up using my PV6505MH or 6505 Mini because it really seemed to match the guitar and riffs very well. It's a great sounding little amplifier. The amp has a very nice chunk and mid-range presence that really help to make it sound sort of angry and pissed off. I initially went with my Mesa Boogie Mini Rectifier, which is also a killer amplifier that I love a lot. And while it sounded great, it was just missing some of that mid-range push and bark that I was looking for. And now for reference, let's take a quick listen to how the riff sounded through the Mesa. Here we go. Great. As you could hear, it had that typical Mesa Boogie rectifier sound. Scooped mids with plenty of top and bottom end. But in this case, I just felt that it was a little bit lacking in the mid-range. I think that the EMG pickups that I used in this guitar simply don't have enough cut in the right areas. It would have been a different story if I had used a Seymour Duncan JB pickup, for example, because that one has a lot more cut and bark in the mid-range. But these EMGs tend to sound a little bit scooped in the same areas as the rectifier, so I needed to use an amplifier that would complement these pickups better in the mix. Anyway, so then I tried the PV and I instantly got results that were a little closer to what I heard in my head. The lows are thick and chunky, and the mids have a lot of push and bark, and the top end is very nice and open. And there's plenty of saturation in this thing to make it sound absolutely huge. I could have also used my big PV6505, the 120 watt version, which I have over here. But to be honest, the little one sounds great in comparison and it's just much easier to handle. I love both of the amps, but in this case I just chose the small one. The amp settings that I used are pretty straightforward. I used the lead channel with a gain setting of around 4.3-ish. Bass, mids and treble were all set to 6. Lead post gain was set to around 3. Resonance was cranked up to just under 9 and presence was set to 7. Now the amp went through my load box and I used an Ownhammer impulse response from the Heavy Hitters Collection Volume 1 for all the cab tones. I tried a bunch of different cabs and speaker options, but I ended up landing on the OH412 DZL V30 speaker option, which is a really great sounding cab and speaker combination. And the actual IR that I ended up using was the OH1-05 mix from the Quick Start folder. It has a very nice overall frequency response that seems to work very well with these riffs, this guitar, these pickups and this amplifier. Now there isn't really any post-processing going on aside from a simple high-pass filter at 80 Hz just to clear out some of that low-end rumble. Alright, that was it. I really hope you enjoyed the riffs, the tones, and my walkthrough of the setup and the signal chain. If you haven't already, please hit the subscribe button along with the notification bell, and you can also follow Sonic Drive Studio on Instagram and Facebook. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Cheers!